Hello, and welcome to our Semester at Sea alumni community. I'm Kate Ashley. I'm the Director of Alumni and Parent Engagement in the home office of Fort Collins, Colorado. And today I am joined by Dr. Scott Marshall, our President and CEO. And we are here to answer your questions as a follow-up to the State of the Institute video that was distributed yesterday. So if you have any questions and you're watching us live, you can drop those questions in the comments below, and we will do our best to answer as many as possible. And while we wait for those questions to come in, I will start with a question that I know is top of mind for many of our alumni, Scott. What can you tell us about our beloved ship, the MV World Odyssey? Where is it currently located, and what are the plans for it in the coming months as we prepare for the Spring 22 voyage?
For sure, Kate. First of all, thank you, Kate, for getting this set up, and all of our marketing and comms team for making this happen. Thanks for the alumni to join and continue to stick with us as we manage through the pandemic. It's been obviously a difficult time, but we are finding our way through it. As is this ship. The ship has been quiet in Caen, France. It's in what's called cold layup. So it's sitting alongside in a harbor in Caen, France, sitting in the water, waiting for us to board passengers at some point in the not too distant future. Cold layup means that it's basically plugged into shore power, and there's a minimal crew on board, 6 crew members and 1 cook. Make sure those 6 crew members eat well. And during this time, the engines get turned on once a week, toilets get flushed, faucets get turned on, showers are tested. So even though it's called cold layup, that doesn't mean that it's just sitting in getting frozen over this period of time. It actually is being tested and ensure that it's operational and will be ready to sail when we're ready to sail. So we look forward to get back on that beautiful ship as soon as possible.
And is it going into a period of dry dock at any time in the next few months?
Sure. So we have a full dry dock schedule for early November. It'll be going into Amsterdam at the Damen shipyard, and a number of basic dry dock procedures will happen. The hull will be cleaned off. Those barnacles and algae like to collect on a ship's hull when it's sitting in the water for a long time. So all of that essential maintenance will occur. I'm really excited to talk about some of the other upgrades we'll do. For those who have sailed on the MV World Odyssey, you know that our technology has been a little limited, in particular our projection and AV systems. We're doing a full upgrade on our audiovisual system. Some of the screens will be replaced. We'll also be putting in some new bandwidth within the ship. It doesn't mean the internet on the ship will work any better, but certainly the technology within the ship will work much better. And we're really excited to see all of this come to life on the ship when we have passengers aboard.
And you mentioned the improved air filtration system.
Oh yeah, of course. That is essential for any conditions now, is to have a really strong HVAC system with MERV quality filtration. So that will occur as well. So there's all of the COVID related protocols and technology that's being put into the ship as well. So it's going to be really wonderful. It already was a wonderful ship, and it's just getting these important upgrades to make it a healthy, safe, and fun environment.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks, Scott. And we had a question come in live. Will the ship be using the gray water system?
So will the ship be using gray water? You mean recycling the water? So most of the gray and black water, of course, is put out at certain junctures in a voyage. But we have the desalination plants within the ship that actually create the fresh water for us to use. That's
great.
A requirement, health requirement for ships like this. So it's nice to have 2 desalination plants on a ship. Give credit to previous leadership for making that commitment. It's pretty unusual. It gives us the ability to sail with fresh water capacity for a longer period of time, which we know we like to sail far. So that's a great thing we have.
Well, thanks, Scott. And what can you tell us about the crew? I know, we haven't sailed in over a year now. How are we taking care of them? What else can you tell us about our wonderful crew members?
Of course. So Bruce Middleton, our Vice President of Operations and Risk Management, is the one who works most closely with our ship management companies, Cruise Management International and CMI Leisure. They hire the deck and engine crew, and of course the hotel crew, hotel and catering crew. The hotel and catering crew is who we would know the best. And those two companies, of course, work very closely to ensure the health and well-being of our crew. They stay in touch with them, ensure their livelihoods are intact, and want to make sure that those who are able to get vaccines get those vaccines. They and other cruise companies and staffing agencies are working diligently to get all crew access to those vaccines, particularly ones that are approved by the European Medical Association, of course, also have approval to be used right now by the FDA. So we're making sure that they get access through these ship management companies, and they're able to come on the voyage as soon as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and in the State of the Institute, Scott, you talked a lot about our strategic planning process that's coming up with the home office.
Yeah.
So I think some of our alumni might want to know who is facilitating these sessions and how do you anticipate this process will impact our long-term and short-term outcomes?
You bet. So strategic planning is one of those activities that people don't necessarily look forward to, and going into it may feel a bit amorphous. However, I've gone through strategic planning many times and led strategic planning in the past. And I agree that sometimes it can feel like it wasn't worth it. And other times it was the most meaningful exercise I've done. And in this case, I believe we are embarking on what will be a very meaningful undertaking for ISE and Semester at Sea. So we have a donor who supported the engagement with a consultant. That consultant is called Entrellis. And Entrellis has already conducted surveys of our board, surveys of our AABOD leadership and co-chairs. They've conducted interviews of many external constituents, and they're starting to conduct last week and this week some group interviews of our staff. And through this process are collecting all types of input into what ISE and Semester at Sea is and what it should be in the future. This is an essential time to do that. It's important to do strategic planning at any point in time, but given that we haven't sailed 3 voyages in a row, and given that we have every intention of conducting the spring 22 voyage, this is a great moment in time to get this process going, to have everybody visioning forward about what we want to see our program really become over the next 5-10 years. Also, of course, a strategic plan like this will create an action plan. Those action plans generally only have a 1-year shelf life, and they're dynamic and a living document. One of the really exciting pieces is, of course, our work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have an action plan associated with DE&I, and that work will become live and embedded within our strategic planning. We've done many actions associated with DE&I over the past 6 to 8 months, and this will just make that live and breathe within our overall strategic plan. I'm really excited for the process. It's going to have a landmark event in August with all staff gathered here in Fort Collins for a 1.5-day facilitated session that will really launch us directly into our action planning phase. It's really exciting to see everybody engaged and enjoying this work.
Yeah, thanks. I'm looking forward to that in a few weeks.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that'll be great. Well, shifting gears a little bit, I know the whole world has been talking about COVID-19 for the last 1.5 years, and as it's an ever-changing situation. We're all watching the news every day and getting new information all the time. We've had a few questions come in live, I think in regards to how we're going to change things moving forward to COVID. A few people wanted to know, will the ship be running at a lower capacity for future voyages, and will there be onboard COVID testing?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and we have been working very closely again with our partners to really determine what needs to be on the ship. So first of all, as we mentioned earlier, the air filtration system will be upgraded through the HVAC. There's a number of other protocols that are in place. If you would have talked to us 4 or 5 months ago, we would have felt like we needed 12 additional crew in hotel and catering to deal with food service and so forth. We would have thought we would have had to have reduced capacity, as you mentioned, Kate. What we've learned now as cruising is really taking off now in the next few months, reduced capacity won't be necessary. Those 12 additional crew will not be necessary. We will have on board testing. We will have on board, all the necessary protocols and medical facilities to deal with any type of COVID issues. But I think we're really benefiting from seeing cruising underway now, understanding the protocols that are working. One of the things that does seem to work extremely well are vaccines. We've seen the evidence really come out, even against the Delta variant. There was a really good article recently, just last week, in Healthline that summarized a series of different studies of vaccine effectiveness, even against the Delta variant. And the effectiveness remains very high. I'm not an epidemiologist. I can't assess those directly, but the article was really well founded in science. And it's a really good sign that the vaccines are holding up. As we know, that the effectiveness of these vaccines is much higher than the flu vaccine, as an example. Now, we have seen some cases where a cruise ship that requires vaccines might get 2 cases on board, and they take those passengers and they are able to take them off the ship and then continue on. That shows that the protocols work, that they have ways of doing testing, of dealing with passengers who might contract COVID, and then continuing on with, in our case, a voyage, in their case, a cruise. So we have all the resources in place. We're learning a lot from what's happening now. We will continue to understand what happens in each country. So we have primarily a European-focused voyage for spring 22, and each country is implementing its own requirements for visitors. So this is something we monitor very closely, and we want to ensure we're prepared for different types of testing requirements and so forth. But again, we're being very diligent here, and we're very excited to get it underway.
Yes, no, so our operations and risk management team is always monitoring this situation and working with expert partners in watching this evolve around us.
Yeah.
Well, in the unlikely event that we have to cancel our spring 22 voyage, how are we preparing for that scenario, even though we are hoping it is not going to happen at all?
Yeah, exactly. I'm quite confident right now. If you look at the conditions in Europe, there are some cases where the Delta variant is becoming predominant and there are rise in infection rates. But if you really go into the data, you'll also see that vaccination rates are going up very rapidly, as are the vaccine percentages. And so while some European countries are suffering from higher infection rates, all the trend lines suggest that this is something that will be brought under control fairly quickly. So nonetheless, even with all of that positive indicators that we can see, we need to do scenario planning. We've been doing scenario planning since the pandemic occurred, and I think we've really honed our ability to plan these scenarios. And we have to think through all aspects of how semester at sea gets back on the ocean. So number one, which I mentioned in the State Institute, and of course is in the annual report and other communications, we've had a number of reserve funds that I have to give credit to the foresight of ISC leadership and board in the past. Those reserve funds have been our savings accounts and have served us extremely well. We've been the beneficiary of the Paycheck Protection Program. We've been really conservative on our overhead, having reduced our overhead significantly. Donor funding has been tremendous. Our donor support has been essential and wonderful. A couple other things as we look forward. So we still have some of that reserve fund, so our savings accounts haven't gone to zero. Those will play a critical role. A couple other things that have come on the horizon that will serve us really well also. We work very closely with the ship owner. The ship owner and ISE, our leadership team, have formed a very positive working relationship. And again, as I mentioned, the State Institute address, most recently, that owner has agreed to reduce our charter rate to the extent of $500,000 for this fall. And I am confident that if the spring 22 voyage is not able to be conducted, that they would provide some similar relief. There's also something called the payroll tax credit relief, which is for enterprises like ours that have had a serious hit to revenue that will provide us some additional relief. So there's a lot of ways to get us through in this case. And we just had a great meeting with our CFO talking us through those scenarios. So we have to run every scenario and we have to plan. And I'm confident that even in the case of a spring 22 cancellation, semester C will be back in the water. That would be really unfortunate. I can't imagine 4 voyages in a row. We need to get the 129th voyage underway. And again, there's every indication that spring 22 is something we will conduct.
Of course, we don't want that to happen, but it's always good to be prepared. Right.
Yeah.
So, talking about the spring 22 voyage, I know that we have a really high enrollment, and we have actually gone on a wait list because the demand is so high. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, and also talk about, the spring 22 voyage looks different than it did originally, and it's very concentrated in Europe and the Mediterranean. And I wanted you to kind of talk about why that is this time around.
Of course. Yeah, this definitely looks different than our traditional voyages. There's no doubt. We have wonderful historical relationships across the world, in the African continent, in the Asian region, sub-Asian continent. We look forward very much to getting back to these communities and making sure that our voyages extend across the globe. Nonetheless, the spring 22 voyage is concentrated in the European and the Mediterranean regions. This is for a reason I mentioned earlier. The vaccination rates are higher, the infection rates are lower. And so this is a voyage that we can conduct. And what's really cool, though, if you dig just under the surface, what you'll find is that this voyage, just like any other voyage we've done, maintains our commitment to that comparative experiential piece. There's still great diversity in these countries represented on the voyage. If you talk about religious diversity, political, cultural diversity, it is embedded in this voyage, and it will be rich and wonderful. And it will be, just as every other voyage be, the best voyage ever.
Yes, we all know that every voyage is the best.
That's right.
On semester at sea. Well, looking at our high enrollment for spring 22, are there international students that are part of that population?
There are. I don't have the exact number of international students. I know we have a number of Davis scholars, and the majority of those Davis scholars are international students. For those of you who don't know, Shelby and Gail Davis are wonderful donors of ours, and they provide money to support United World College students to come on semester at sea, and therefore they're called Davis Scholars, and they're academically amazing. Maturity-wise, they're phenomenal, and they add such richness to our voyage, and they generally compose a significant portion of our international students. So yes, they'll be represented on the voyage, and I'm very excited to really see them actively engaged in this voyage of return.
Yes. Well, can you tell us a little bit about how universities are responding to the study abroad post-pandemic? Are they still motivated to send students internationally?
Well, universities are motivated and students are motivated. There's no question that study abroad is something that students want to do. Excuse me. They've been seeking it for years, and the number of students studying abroad continues to grow. And we have really formed strong partnerships with our universities and talked to them, had sessions with them, maintained dialogue with them throughout this time. And I think that that's proving out to be a really big win for us. We have actually had great feedback from our university partners on how we handled the spring 2020 voyage. And we continue to get really positive feedback on how we make decisions. And part of that is we continue to listen to them and have dialogue with them. Now, as I think you're aware, many universities did cancel their fall study abroad, just as we canceled our fall voyage. However, most of them that we've seen are absolutely running spring study abroad, and we are right there along with them.
I know that's positive news looking forward. I think everyone's very eager to get back out into the world. We had a question come in. If a student or anyone else is not able to get vaccinated due to medical reasons, is there any way for that student to sail in the spring?
Not for spring, and I'm sorry for this. I totally understand where this can be. I really do. Mm-hmm. I understand where it would come from. I know individuals that are in this category and have great sympathy for them for that situation. Unfortunately, we really need to conduct this first voyage with all passengers and crew fully vaccinated. That's an essential fact for this spring 22 voyage. Maybe in the future, beyond spring 20, there might be some exceptions, but time will tell, right? We're all learning as we progress. It may be that sometime in January, February next year, we learn something that can impact how we conduct the fall 22 and spring 22 voyages. But for spring 22, we know that it's essential that we have 100% vaccinated voyage. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I would encourage, any students where that is the case to be in touch with their regional director, with their student advisor, keep us apprised, and we will continue to communicate with you and see how we can help you in the future and do our best to communicate there. So that's what I would say to all future students or lifelong learners. If there are any issues like that, just be in touch with us and we will keep working with you. And as you said, we'll see how everything evolves in the future.
Yeah, thanks for providing that advice, Kate. That's great advice. Be in touch.
Yeah, no, I think that will be good. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I have a question about the exciting homecoming voyage that you announced in the State of the Institute, leaving from Naples, Italy in December. When I know our alumni are already asking me, when can they register? Can they bring friends or family who are not alumni? Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Scott?
Well, I'm super excited as well. This is awesome. And I got to give credit to our advancement team in particular for really designing this, our operations team for finding a route that will work, for our communications team for getting the message out. This is going to be superb. And I really encourage you all to take a look at your calendars and see how you can make this happen. So it leaves obviously from Naples on December 28th. It goes to a number of ports in France, a couple ports, I should say, sorry. Corsica, France, and Sardinia, Italy. So, and then we'll return to Naples on January 2nd. We're looking at how we'll do programming on the ship. We'll have a New Year's Eve party. We'll have a New Year's Day brunch. It's going to be fabulous. So please take a look. So early August, we will launch the registration for this. I believe it's August 2nd. Kate, does
August
that
3rd.
August 3rd.
August 3rd, yes.
3rd. We will open up registration. Be sure to be ready, at the ready, to register, find the cabin you want, and then start planning your airfare. How will you get there? When will you get there? Do you want to spend a little more time in Italy before or after? I think it's just going to be a fabulous time. And what a beautiful region of the world to spend the New Year's. So please join us. It's going to be wonderful.
Yes, I know we're all looking forward to it and excited to see our alumni in person again. And look for more information coming soon. All of that information will be posted on our website with lots of details to help you plan your travel, to register. Like Scott said, registration will open August 3rd and it will be open through November 30th. So it gives you a few months there to register, and then we will have a pretty strict cutoff on that November 30th. So talk to your friends, family members. We'd love to see you in Italy and celebrate the new year and to celebrate, as you said, the return of our student voyages in spring 22. And looks like we just had one question come in from a student asking about scholarships. How competitive are they? How can they apply for them? What else can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so first of all, we have a really nice description of everything online. So go on to the financial aid portion of our website under admissions, and there's a lot of information there. Second, as Kate suggested on another issue, this is the same. Be in touch with your regional director. They have great insight. Third, some scholarships are competitive, more competitive than others. There's also financial aid, so absolutely apply. Get yourself in there. We have student assistantships. We have all types of different scholarships, donor funded. There's really a rich number of opportunities for you to find support to go. So please get yourself in the queue, submit your application, get your financial aid requests in, apply for the scholarships. There's just a lot of opportunity. Competitive, it really varies by the scholarship, right? So
Right.
And the number of applicants, and that can vary by voyage. So get yourself lined up, get yourself in the queue.
Yes, I think it's good. The important thing is to give yourself plenty of time to work out those details. And we have our new cost calculator on the website to help a student figure out what they might be eligible to receive. So as they are starting those conversations with their families.
That's right.
Really excited about that. We just launched that in the last few weeks, I believe.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we have any other questions. We'll give everyone a few more minutes if there are any last minute questions, but do you have any final thoughts for us, Scott, before we conclude?
I think I did see one question about the ratio of women to men.
Oh, right.
And that's
a good question.
I wish I had the true explanation for it, but let me give you a quick story. My older son went on a 2-week study abroad in 7th grade to Peru. And guess what? The ratio was the same then. The ratio is the same across study abroad. That is about 2/3 women, about 1/3 men. And maybe it's just that women are more courageous, more adventuresome, more willing to go meet new people. I don't know. And so the student, I think, asked, is this true? Yes, it is true that there's generally a ratio of 65-35 women to men on the voyage. And then I think the students said, what are the reasons for this? And that's where I really don't have the explanation. I wish someone would give me a clear explanation of it. But yeah, that is the case.
Well, and I think what we're seeing is semester at sea is in line with the trends across the industry and across the nation, really. So whatever the reason, it's good to know that we are in line with that.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. Well, another question just came in, Scott. If the student is wondering if they wanted to sail as a postgraduate student in the future, do they have to be matriculated in a graduate and master's program?
No, you don't. No. What you will be required to do is take courses on the ship. So every student has to be registered for at least 12 credits. Okay, just keep that in mind, that even if you've completed your undergraduate degree, you have to be a student. You have to be a full participant, and that means you register for and participate in and succeed in these courses. So we have postgrad students. They have an equally amazing experience. They just couldn't quite fit it into their undergraduate degree, or in some cases, maybe they planned for semester C to be post-graduation. Absolutely, you're very welcome to join us. You maybe have more options to choose from because you won't try to be completing your degree. You could take some really fascinating courses that just stretch you in new and fun ways. So yeah, absolutely, you're very welcome.
And so we allow students to sail up to 1 year after they've graduated.
Yeah, that's right.
And then after that, we lowered the age. If anyone is interested in sailing as a lifelong learner, they just have to be over the age of 30. So that's something else to keep in mind if anyone is looking to sail. Yeah, are there any other questions that I missed? I don't think I see any others coming in. Any other final thoughts before I wrap up here?
No, I appreciate your work, Kate, and everybody else at the Institute's work to get this up and running. These Q&As are an important opportunity for us to continue to engage with our broad stakeholders, interested students, our alumni, donors, friends. I think we want to continue to engage everybody in various ways in dialogue. Feel free to reach out to our regional director or anybody else here at the Institute if you have any follow-up questions. We at Semester at Sea will get through the pandemic. We will find our ways back on the high seas. We will be back with our country partners. This is one of the most important programs I've seen in higher education in terms of what it delivers for our students, for our faculty and our staff. So we are committed to making sure it happens. So thanks so much.
Well, thanks, Scott. Thank you for taking the time to answer all of these questions and to be committed to delivering these State of the Institute addresses. I think they're really important for our alumni and friends. And thank you, Semester at Sea alumni, for tuning in today, for watching us live or watching us later. And thank you also, as Scott has mentioned, for all of your support in the last year and a half. And as the Director of Alumni and Parent Engagement, I get to work with our wonderful Alumni Association, which is a group of 140 plus dedicated alumni volunteers, and they are working really hard. Like I said, we've got 6 different councils, 140 volunteers. We have 31 alumni chapters around the United States and a few international locations, and we're working on getting a few more. But they are working on planning some engagement events for you all, virtually and in person. So keep a lookout for those. If you are looking for those, you can find them on our Semester at Sea website under the Alumni tab. Just click on Find Events. So we've got a lot of fun and exciting things in the works in the next few months as we get ready to celebrate 58 years of Semester at Sea in October. And the last thing I will say is we invite you to join us on next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time right here on our Semester at Sea Facebook page for the next installment of our Wavelengths Alumni Series. Building off our last session, we are pleased to feature Riva, Lizzie, and Tegan, who are the co-founders of the Sementia Project, which is a sustainable venture to alleviate period poverty inspired by the Godfred's Foundation in Ghana that we have a partnership with. So some of our alumni were inspired by previous Semester at Sea alumni and have continued to build on the good work that they're doing. So that's really what Semester at Sea is all about. So we're excited to feature them. And thank you again for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you all in person soon.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week.
Have a good one.